Hi, this is Rohit Khilnani from NDTV in India. Hi, Rob. Hi, Zoe.
Hello.
It's indeed a pleasure to be speaking to both of you, and especially after watching the movie. Rob, to you first. Do you take that pressure that it is a Batman movie, or people will remember this role, so and so actors played it in the past? Does this play on your mind?
Definitely initially. I mean, it's strange. My first thought, I really, really wanted to do it. So I was completely fearless at first. I mean, as soon as I got the part, went straight into terror, and then when you start working on the movie, it's weird. It kind of goes away. Like as soon as you try and interpret the minutiae of his actions, like, and try and do it as much as you can for real, like it just starts. I mean, the script was really special script, and it felt very different in the first place. But every little scene, you start to it just starts to become its own thing. It kind of grows organically, and then by the end of it, you kind of, what's Batman and what's you and what's the character and whatever you've created kind of all become one, and you're not really
Right.
thinking about the rest anymore.
Right. Zoe, I love the action that you did in this. What was that like? What is a set like of a Batman movie?
It takes a lot of hard work. We trained for quite a long time and learning the fight choreography and all of that. And it's really interesting to play a character where, the physicality is just as important as, what she's saying and the acting of it all. It's really hard work, but it's really fun. It's really gratifying. And, I don't think I've ever, worked so hard physically. It's pretty insane what we both had to do.
It was lovely. Rob, when do one has to feel your Batman. When do you feel your Batman? Is it when you wear the costume? When does it happen?
Yeah, there's a couple of. I mean, there's sometimes when I really felt like Bruce Wayne as well. And the costume designer was just. She really had some pretty phenomenal looks, and as well as Bruce too. But I definitely thought the first costume test when I put on the suit the first time, because you kind of, it's supposed to be incredibly intimidating being Batman, and when you don't have it on and you're just trying to do it when you're at home reading the script, I mean, it's tough and it's kind of embarrassing. Because I always film myself on my phone, just kind of trying to prepare for stuff, and watching some of my little practice rehearsals back, I mean, it's really rough to watch it. But when you put on the suit the first time, and it's suddenly like, oh, I kind of, you look in the mirror, and you're like, I kind of believe myself a little bit more. But yeah, the suit is just phenomenal.
Right. A lot of sweat gone into it.
So much, but like I tried slightly less sweat than the previous suits.
Right.
So much
But
sweat.
I had to. You have to put on an ice bucket on your head after every single scene 'cause you're just
Seriously.
boiling.
Right. Zoe, before starting this, did you watch the previous Batman movies?
I mean, I had already seen them, of course,
Right.
but I eventually did go back and not to try and not for work, but just because it was
Oh,
exciting to watch a film that I love so much and remember that I'm gonna get to be a part of one of those films. It's pretty exciting.
right. You both are incredible in the film. Thank you so much for entertaining us.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Hi, Paul and Jeffrey. This is Rohit Khilnani from NDTV in India.
Hey
How
there.
are you?
Very well. Really enjoyed the movie. A big fan of Batman, like everybody else. Paul, to you first. When you read about the Riddler and when you read about the character on script, does it read as impactful as it looks eventually?
Well, Matt's script was very fully conceived right from the first page. It
Okay.
was a script you could see as you read it, and the way that it unfolds is so delicious and complex, and there's so much depth along with all of the juice that you want from this kind of film. So I think I think the experience of reading it was awesome, and it's the experience I want the audience to have. Talking about it is hard because we're also trying to protect the integrity of that, because for the fans, it's just, I think it starts and it doesn't end until it ends. It's one driving force that Matt has going on here. So yeah, I hope the character is impactful for the audience. Yeah.
Jeffrey, before getting onto the sets, do you watch the earlier movies? Do you read the magazines? Do you go through all that material as well?
Yeah, no, I didn't watch the movies prior, but I definitely went back and read a number of the comics from the beginning, from, what is it, volume 27, 1939, DC.
Right.
I went back and started there and pushed my way forward. I didn't read everything, obviously, because it's 80 years worth of stuff. But, and I read some of the contemporary stuff as well, because I wanted to have an understanding of the trajectory of the character. It's Gordon and Bruce Wayne are the first characters that appear in the first panel of that initial comic. So I wanted to track his journey to see where I might, be able to take him. And also, Matt had referenced a few of the contemporary ones, like The Long Halloween, as having influenced him. So I wanted to go back and read those. But the other films, no, I didn't watch those prior. I'd seen some of them. I hadn't seen all of them, years ago. But I really didn't think they would be helpful to my understanding of what we were trying to do with this film. Not that they're not, wonderful films, but, we were trying to make something of our own.
Right. Paul, lastly, what is a set like? Is it dark? Do you all shoot only in the nights?
Well, we did shoot a lot of nights. The backlot that they built of Gotham, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
One of my favorite nights of filming is the diner scene, because I just remember the police and the rain and the lights
and the tone, the colors.
The tone and the colors. So that was a dream, to be on a backlot that was so gorgeous, and our production designer James Chinlin and DP Greg Fraser. So it was a wonderful set to step onto in that way. But yeah, there were a lot of nights.
And it wasn't just that diner, that we see. It was a city block. And each of the buildings had a purpose and were filmable, both exterior and interior. So it was pretty immersive. I think it's a super immersive film, the experience of watching it, but also when we filmed it, because of the nature of the artists that were working on the production side of things, we just felt fully inside of this city of Gotham. It was really very helpful.
It is incredible on the big screen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great to see both of you, especially after watching the movie. Big fan. Colin, to you first. When you read the script, does Penguin sound as impactful as you made it?
Honest to God, when I read the script, it was lovely. The part was I didn't know what to expect. So when I heard that Matt Reeves wanted to speak to me to maybe be involved in the next Batman film, I got terribly excited. And when I heard it was the Penguin, look, I grew up kind of watching Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, and then Danny DeVito's Penguin obviously was in Tim Burton's world that I experienced as a teenager. And so I was just delighted at the opportunity, but I have to say that most of the work was done by the makeup artist, as you know, because you've seen they did so much of the work. I just had to inhabit it and go and be free, and it was a very freeing, very liberating experience to be beneath all that makeup. I thought that it might be restraining, but it was the complete opposite experience. It was fun, man.
Right. John, there's so much to read. If you want to just research about Batman, did you do that? Did you go back to comic books or even other Batman movies?
Yeah, I mean, I read those. I didn't read the DC comic books in the 30s, but I read them in the 60s, and I, remember the show and seen all the movies. And my eldest child, Amadeo, works for DC Comics and actually is working on sort of a new Batman series, and the resident family expert on Batman. And I know the Frank Miller comics that inspired sort of Matt, and obviously all the references that those comics make to the time period, the Godfather films and everything. And so, it was fun to kind of piece it all together and to work with everybody, and whether it was your look or little suggestions. And Matt was very, very collaborative. He really, we tried scenes all different ways. And, and he was interested in the nuance and keeping it grounded. So it was kind of a detective movie in lots of ways, and I liked that a lot.
Right. Colin, what is Matt like? Is he someone who takes some pressure because he's doing so much? He has to deliver the Batman movie. What does he work like?
I was so concerned about him just recently, like what does he do with himself when he finishes this process? And when he gives the film over to the world? I mean, he was just intensely dialed in for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, it took him however long it took him to write the script. I think that he has a co-writer, somebody he works with. Excuse me, I'm forgetting his name, but he's detail-oriented. Matt, he has a really clear vision of what he wanted the world to look like, but also what he wants the world to feel like. With music, with how the characters interacted, with where Gotham is in its evolution, and where all the characters, as John was saying, they are in their evolution. Some of them are becoming what we recognize them as being from other films, other incarnations in the comic books. But Matt's attention to detail, and he would do many takes sometimes, many takes, but that allowed you the freedom to try different things. And he always wanted to see if he could do something or more here or less there. And it was really, I loved working with him. It was a lot of fun. And I just felt like I was in really, really safe hands with him,
Ditto.
Great. Well, clearly were, and that showed on the screen as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Hi, this is Rohit Khilnani from NDTV in India.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, Matt, and thoroughly enjoyed your film. Big congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Right, Matt, are you someone who takes pressure that you're making a Batman movie? It will be compared to other Batman movies. Your actor will be compared to other Batman. So do you take that pressure?
Oh my God, all of that. I mean, I don't see how you could do a Batman movie and not feel that, because, the history of Batman movies is a great history. Like, as far as this genre goes, like Batman is like, to me, the crown jewel, and people love that character. And so, you look at it when you have the opportunity to do it, you look at it in two ways. One, you look at it like, wow, what an opportunity. And the other is like, oh my God, this is terrifying. So yeah, of course, you can't help but not. And then, the challenge becomes how to make it your own. And that was, to me, the biggest mission, was to make sure that we could make this, after this character has endured for over 80 years. So in comics and in movies, and with this many iterations in the films, the imperative was to come in and find a way to make him fresh, so that he has to be both familiar. He has to be the Batman that people love, meaning that iconic mythic figure, but he needs to somehow also be completely different. And I think that's what we've tried to do in this movie, and what I think Rob was able to achieve.
Right. You managed to do that very successfully. In fact, you were talking about what Rob was able to achieve. What is Rob like for a director? What kind of an actor is he?
Rob is an absolute joy, is what he is. I mean, he's so interesting. He's in such control of his instrument. He's able to do technical things that I've never really seen anyone be able to do. His ear for mimicry is astonishing. He doesn't use a dialect coach. Like, he hears a voice and he just can copy it. And the voice is one of the key ways into character for him. So like, one of the things I discovered was that he's able to pitch his voice into different registers. And as we were exploring, I was like, well, can you lower your voice? And he said, oh yeah. And then he started lowering his voice, and I was like, oh my God. And he's able to do all of these incredibly technical things. But at the same time, he's also incredibly emotional. So he is a very rare mix, because a lot of times you meet an actor who has great emotional depth, but they might be not as in control sort of technically. He's somebody who I could say, okay, I need this moment to be hotter. You've got to be angrier, but I also need you to lean on your left foot because the light is hitting your eye that way. And he could do both. He'd be like, oh yeah, okay. And then we'd do it. And so he was a joy. He was amazing.
Brilliant to hear that. Could you tell me about that main car scene where he walks out, that shot that's in the trailer?
The one where the car emerges, or where he emerges?
Where he emerges.
Oh yeah, well, he emerged. Well, that was one of the things. It's funny, that was also from a David Lynch movie. There's a scene in Lost Highway where they're in this hallway and it falls off to darkness, and Bill Paxton comes out of the hall, materializing out of the shadows. And for some reason, that image occurred to me when I started thinking about this idea of how Batman is meant to intimidate the criminal element, and that he is putting on this suit so that he can appear almost like a ghost out of the shadows. And that was actually one of the scenes I had Rob do in his screen test. And then I worked with Greg Fraser, my director of photography, to try and get him to find just that sort of ghostly way that he would step out of it. And when we shot him coming out of it, it was a thrilling moment. You know, there was something about that was the first time we saw him, and we were shooting him in full, finished bat suit. And it's an exciting moment. You know, it's one of those moments that you kind of pinch yourself and you go like, okay, now I'm part of a long legacy of films and a part of pop culture, which is this moment where we're introducing a new Batman. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to be part of.
That scene is incredible, and so is your film. Thank you,
Thank
Matt,
you.
for entertaining us.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.